Thank you, Josh, and thank you to the IJS community. And I want to thank Deborah Ferdig for sponsoring today's meditation once again in memory of your beloved mother. All of us have this invitation now to elevate our thoughts, elevate our intention, to be peace knowers and peace spreaders and agents of peaceful being in this world. So I want to begin our meditation. We'll be doing a little bit of study on Parshat Lech Lecha in just a moment, but just to anchor us in the space, anchor us in this sacred moment, please join me in this nigun, a nigun, melody of the heart. The one that's coming up for me is Elecha Adonai Akra, to you I call out and I cry, and we ask God to hear our prayers, but it's just the melody. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai nai nai nai, yai nai nai nai, yai na nai, yai nai na nai, yai na nai, yai na nai, yai nai 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 nai. May God hear our deepest cries and our deepest prayers, and let us say Amen. So I'd like to go ahead and attempt to share my screen with the text. We'll see how it goes. Hoping for a miracle. Okay, can you see it? Okay, fantastic. So Lech Lecha is the inward journey as much as it's the outward journey. In this week's Torah portion, we are introduced to Avram. Avram is the patriarch, the first Jew, the first to recognize that there is one God. And in seeing into the universe, into the oneness of God as the sovereign of sovereigns, Abraham brings something new and holy into the world. We don't know anything about Abraham, or Avram as we learn of him in Parshat Lech Lecha, in this week's Torah portion in Genesis, before this moment in which he's 75 years old and he appears to him. God appears to Abraham at 75. That gives us hope, right? It gives us hope. If we haven't seen it or know it, or if we don't know yet, right? There's always something coming. There's always something that we are growing into that we can make ourselves fertile ground to receive, right? So what does Avram come to know? There's so many midrashim that are prior to this text, that are prior to the call, but we're not getting into that now. We're just going to look at the text prima facie, what it says right here. God calls to Avram and says, Lech lecha, go forth. Lech lecha me'artzecha u'mimoladecha mibeit avicha el haaretz asher areka. God says to Avram, go forth. Lech lecha. Go forth from where? From your native land, from your parents' house, that's your father's house, to the land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation, God goes on to say, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And this is how we are introduced to Abraham when he's Avram. So there are many sources that delve into these two little words that are the beginning of God's command to Avram, Lech Lecha, go unto yourself. Go for yourself. You, Abraham, this is your particular journey that will open up into a universal journey. But right now, it is an invitation to enter into the depths of yourself and see who you are as you become an anchor to bring my name and the holiness of all of God is into the universe. The first step is an inward journey as much as it is an external journey. And so there are many Hasidic teachings on this. I'm going to pick one and touch on another one. The Noam Elimelech on Sefer Breshit, Lech Lecha. Why the three going out of? There's three ways of leaving that are pointed out here. Me'artzecha, from your homeland, mimoladetecha, your birthplace, and mi beit avicha, from your father's house, your parents' house. So the Hasidic master tells us, from your land, depart from your land, first break away from any earthiness that is binding you here, that you're bound by, any materialness, that gashmiut, we call it, that sense of just, that materiality that keeps us bound here. Depart from that. That is your first going forth. He couches it in the language of taiva, of appetite, right? So break yourself from the suffering of appetite, right? If we want to kind of play with other modalities of mindfulness, break yourself from that physicalness. We can't fully, right? We're physical beings. But to whatever extent you can notice what is holding you back physically, break away, right? Make the first steps toward breaking away from those distractions of our physicality, of the barriers that prevent us from being in service and in connection all the time. That's number one. Number two, mimoladecha, from your birthplace. Break away here, right? The invitation is to rise above any sense of your predisposition, of the way you think you need to be in the world, the way that you've been maybe grown to be. Maybe you've always been told that you're egotistical, or you're a jealous person, or you're unkind, or anything else, any other midah that kind of gives us a sense of who we are. If we're not comfortable with it, if we don't think it's right or true about us, it's an invitation to rise above and out, moving outward from kind of like a way of being toward a way we want to be. Right? And that's one of the biggest blessings of teshuvah. If we feel like we've gone wrong here or there, we always have that invitation to reset our trajectory forward. Not to think that whatever context we were in this morning even, or an hour ago or a few minutes ago, that's how we are and that's who we are and that's it. No, an invitation to break away from your moladecha, your birthplace. And then go away, move forward from your parents' house. Now, I'm a mom of 4, so I would love for my children to not feel that they have to break away from me, right? I want them to be close and to hold close to their hearts the values that I've hopefully instilled in them. And yet, I would want for my children to be who they are, to find their own way, right? Maybe to take the best of what I tried to give them, but make it their own. Not to live in our parents' shadow, not to live in the legacy that was only given to us, but to take that legacy and to turn it into something more. That's the blessing of going forth. Where is Abraham going? Lech lecha me'artzecha el haaretz asher ar'eka, to the land that I will show you. There are no coordinates for this land. Abraham has no idea where he's going. And that's the journey for us as well. For many of us, we have vision boards and daily meditations and kind of orienting processes of helping us to get to where we're going. And I think those are great things. But there's another piece, which is, do any of us really ever truly know where we're going? And yet we can allow ourselves to fall into the embrace of the divine, to know that we are being pushed forward lovingly to where we need to go all the time. All the time. And that journey forward is as much a journey inward. That there is never a destination in the depths of ourselves. We never fully arrive. We're always moving. We're always growing. And that's what differentiates us from the angels. Angels are omdim. Right? We learned from the prophet Isaiah. They're standing. They've got their game. They know what they're doing. But we as humans, we're evolving, we are growing, we are becoming, and that is the blessing of Abraham, to become, to journey forth, not really fully knowing where it is he is meant to arrive. And that for us is as much of a journey spiritually that we can take today that Abraham is taking in this parsha. So here we have one last piece that I wanted to take into our meditation. And this is from a beautiful book called The Book of Awakening. I absolutely love this book, by Mark Nepo. And he writes that the inner life of any great thing will be incomprehensible to me until I develop and deepen an inner life of my own, quoting Parker Palmer. Well, this is Mark Nepo's comment. Everyone has an inner life. Everyone has a lech lecha, right? If we want to use that language. It's just a matter of opening it. What Parker Palmer wisely suggests is that we can only feel something to the degree that we are willing to meet its depth. Let me make this bigger. Just as we must open our eyes, just raise our lids to see, we must raise our barriers and open our hearts and minds if we are to see and feel the essence of the life around us. To develop our own inner life is tantamount to opening our deepest eyes. It has much to do with raising our walls, with living from our own depths so we can experience the depths around us. Too often, while cut off from our inwardness, we complain that the things about us are shallow and boring and not worth our attention, when more often than not, it is we who are out of touch. To see deeply, we must open deeply. So I'm going to stop my share here and invite us to sit for the next 7 minutes in a meditation of journeying inward with no particular destination, but feeling the guidance of the One guiding us within to explore our inner knowing, our inner love, our inner compassion, and our inner willingness to grow. If you haven't already, please, this is a prompt for seated meditation, although find yourself comfortable wherever you are. Feet comfortably on the floor, soles of the feet grounded. We are earthlings after all. Feel the support of your chair, or simply the support of the love of being guided, of the source, of the One. Deeply inhale and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. With eyes closed or a soft, gentle gaze, allowing your attention to drop within you in the heart center. Your inner life, your inner world. Dropping awareness out of mind and into a whole entity of being. For these next few moments, on your own, few minutes really, allowing the sensation of guidance within you, to be your own inner explorer, just checking out what's going on, opening up to your own depths of awareness, of your own journeying in life. How do you want to be on this journey? How do you want to be right now? And be that as you journey within. Lech lecha. Lech lecha within. If your mind wanders, come back to the breath. Let the breath guide you back into an inner journey of exploration. With each breath, becoming aware of an inner journey. Allowing yourself to open up to inner guidance, being guided by the divine. Lech lecha. Yai, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai, dai. Yai, dai. Beginning to bring our awareness back to our shared space. And if you'd like to place hand over heart and hand over hand as we seal this practice, this inner journey of compassion, of love, of uplift, of connection, of acknowledging that we are all journeyers together and that we are journeying toward a holy land, bringing all of our thoughts of love and healing and peace to the external holy land as much as to our inner holy land. And knowing that we are doing this work together. Shalom 3 times. Join with me. Shalom. 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 This concludes our meditation.
Thank you so much, Danielle. And please stay around if you can for a little reflection and conversation afterwards. If you need to leave us, Tzeitchem L'Shalom, farewell. We're going to say Mourner's Kaddish now. And if you have anyone you were holding in heart or mind today as we're saying Kaddish, please feel welcome to put their name in the chat. And we will also put the text of Kaddish up and be invited to unmute. And there are those certainly who are saying Kaddish today for those who have been killed recently in Israel and who have no one to say Kaddish for them. And so if that moves you, you also please feel welcome to join us. So we'll put the text of Kaddish up now on the screen, and you're welcome to unmute and join me in reciting the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabba, Be'alma, V'Yitbarach, V'Yitmach, V'Chayechol, V'Yomichon, V'Chayei, U'Beit Yisrael, V'Agala, V'Zman
Amen.
Hey, Shmei Rabba, V'Barach, Le'alma, V'Yishtabach,
Shalom Vinachomav, Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael
Shalom Shema, Ya'aseh Shalom, V'Ya'alu Yisrael, V'Yoshvei Tevel.
Amen.
Thank you again, everybody. Just mute the mute back on here.
You okay?
There we go. All right. So, and we'll bring Danielle back here. And again, thank you so much for that, for your teaching today, Danielle. And as always, if you have questions or observations about what came up for you during the practice, there was a lot of really rich Torah that Danielle brought us today. Please share in the chat. We always get a pretty lively conversation going in the chat. And you know, I think a question that I have, Danielle, for you that I found arising was something you sort of came up at the end. Really, was obviously in the there's the internal Lech Lecha and there's the external Lech Lecha. There's the internal Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. There's the external Jerusalem. There's the internal land of Israel. There's the external land of Israel. And I just wonder for you right now how this practice, how you find yourself sort of holding all of that as a leader in the Jewish community and who didn't get a cheshvan this year. All of our clergy out there who this was supposed to be the month with no holidays and people take time off to recover from the high holidays and nobody's getting that right now. So I just wonder for you, if you're willing to share just personally, you know, how this practice is helpful to you.
All right, thank you. I mean, I can just speak from my own experience, so I'm not, you know, this is how I feel, okay? So, and that's what you're asking. So when I come to Lech Lecha, I see the promise of this land to us as Jewish people, and I feel very connected to that promise. And, God doesn't say exactly where it is or how it's going to be or what it's going to look like, but a promise that we will have an eternal connection to this place. And I feel that within my soul. I feel an internal implanting of a promise of that piece of land in my soul. And I also recognize that that's because I'm a Bat Torah, I'm a daughter of these words. I feel as I am an inheritor of Abraham. And so when I read the promise, I feel the promise that it's made to me as much as it was made to him. And I feel like these words are meant to be spoken to us as an inner journey. Otherwise, God wouldn't have commanded, or the words wouldn't be lech lecha if it wasn't about an inner journey as much as an external journey. It's not just lech, right? That would be very clear, but it's lech lecha. So going for yourself. So that's an invitation to constantly check within, what is my connection to these words of Torah? What is my connection to the divine? What is my connection to what I understand to be this promise? And knowing that it is a journey without end. That's how I feel. This is a journey that doesn't have an end. It's a journey that is about the journey. So I don't know if that's helpful, but
Yeah. And I'm thinking back also to the piece of the Noam Elimelech that you taught, and just identifying, I think in its own way, like parsing, interpreting the verse from the Torah as almost three inhibitions, right? Three gates we almost have to pass through. At first, it was the level of the gashmiut, of just the physicality, itself, the artzacha, the artziut, right? And then the Beit Avicha, right? Moladetcha, right? From your birthplace, and I think you interpreted it as sort of the genetic predispositions, our natural predispositions, right? And Umi Beit Avicha, like we all have to become really our own people. And just, I'm curious for folks in the chat and who are here, how those three registers sort of speak to you. Buddhism is great at like having like the 5 of this and the 7 of that and the 10 of this and whatever. And like we don't tend to have those as much, like those numbered lists, but this is like great. 3 inhibitions to lech lecha, right? Go. So I wonder about that. There's a couple of comments here. Cindy says it evokes for me the foundations of 12-step recovery from addiction requires a spiritual, physical, and emotional letting go of ego, self, will. I was aware but not previously see how clearly all the wisdom is Torah. So yeah, Cindy, thank you. Really great. And Rana here has a question about, is there a Kabbalistic teaching that speaks to these 3 levels?
Yeah.
So you want to handle that one?
I passed through them in my journeying through Chassidut, but if you're, I wouldn't be comfortable necessarily quoting from Zohar, but I would just say a resounding yes, without being able to point you exactly to the place.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that come to mind. I mean, there's sort of the 4 worlds of creation as 4 levels of reality, which is a little different than this teaching, right? There's also like 3 different aspects to the human being, which might have something to do with it. It's a good question. We should maybe look into a little bit. Deborah also asked, what were the 2 books you mentioned? One was the Noam Elimelech, right? Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhensk. And the second one was Mark Nepo, was that right?
Yeah, the second Hasidic source that I mentioned is the Sfat Emet.
Was the Sfat Emet, okay.
Yeah, and I think I referenced that in the source sheet. It's the teaching from 56, Lech Lecha Me'artzecha.
Okay.
But the other book that I threw out there with the longer quote with Parker Palmer was from the Book of Awakening, Mark Nepo. So
okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some other things that are coming in here. Okay. Harris, always a good questioner. The three levels almost require that we question the ideas, behaviors and values into which we were born and raised, maybe the conditions, right? Our conditioning. And that leads me to think about who is included in us. Who's in us? You're asking like my favorite question, Harris, like the question of who do we mean by we, right? We is the most powerful and most problematic pronoun. Danielle, you want to reflect on
no,
that?
I do because thank you. I tend to couch my teachings in us language because to me it feels inclusive, but this teaching is completely individual, particularistic to you. So wherever this teaching lands of lech lecha, of that command for you to go forth, it is astoundingly fascinating that the command is not in second person plural, but second person singular. This is your journey, Abraham. And then as readers of the text, we ask ourselves, right? Because I believe we are the inheritors of Abraham, not alone, not just me, not just you, but all of us are inheritors in our own way of what we want, of what we choose to inherit, I guess, right? That's part of Beit Avicha, like what do you take from Abraham's legacy and what do you bring into your own life? But that is a particular journey that you alone determine for yourself. What is your Beit Avicha? What is your Moladecha? What is your Artzecha? What are your three, kind of obstacles or barriers or launching places that you are from which you are journeying forth? So I think us is not really the right word here at all. It's you, and you and you and you, each and every one of us. Oh, Josh, you're muted.
I was getting I was saying something really deep. No,
It's
I was
okay.
just saying I think that the that question here is like about who is us and we, like it's such a powerful and fraught question, and it's one I reflect on a lot. I think especially now, like all of the things that are, every time we see something in social media or somebody like, well, you didn't say this, like what about who's included or not included in the statement that so and so made? And as the leader of a Jewish institution, I feel some of that myself, right? Like people are projecting all the time, like and really a focus on like well, who's in or who's not included, who's the we that you're referring to. And people want to feel themselves reflected, or almost feel a need to see themselves reflected in that we, and then they don't want to have that we imposed on them either, right? And so it's almost like you can't win sometimes. And I guess the question I would raise for all of us is, when we feel that, just to pause, right, and sort of interrupt that process and like ask, so what's going on for me right now? Like, why am I feeling this thing? Especially when you're on social media, and just like get off of social media. But anyway, especially when you're there, what's going on for me right now? And if it's going on for me, is it maybe going on for other people? And does that help us maybe, does that help us empathize, right? As you're saying, normally, if I'm doing this in my office, you would see the pause banner behind me, that's on the wall, but I'm outside because it's a warm day. So yeah, I think that's a really, really important question, the we, and then like what's going on for us, when it's a very powerful and evocative question for all of us. That
Josh, can I
happens.
comment on that as
Yeah.
well?
Yeah.
So I'm going out on a limb here, but I'm just feeling called to share it. So this call to Abraham is before Isaac is born, before Ishmael is born. It's at the very beginning of his journey. And I think this is an invitation when we come to Lech Lecha to reset as with the consciousness of going forth as the father of monotheism, right? Of the father of all of us, that Abraham is claimed by Christianity and Islam and Judaism. And I don't think about that a lot, but when I was teaching my students, like, 8 and 7-year-olds, 9-year-olds, like about Abraham and trying to explain, this first, not just the first Jew, but he's the father of 3 faiths. And showing the family tree. Here's Ishmael, here's Isaac, here's Hagar, here's Sarah. And my kids, the students' eyes widen. They're like, wait, what? We're one family? Wait, what? I'm like, we're family, guys. These are cousins. This is family. And what does that feel like when your family is at war, when your family is struggling, when your family is in conflict? Maybe you're going to pick a side, right? But go back and back and back and back, right? To the pause, to the big view, and see what's going on here. And now how do you want to respond, right? Now how might you choose to feel? So to do that with 7 and 8-year-olds, let me tell you, was like very eye-opening and kind of a beautiful moment that I feel like, we had shared together, of what does it mean to be inheritors of Abraham.
Some good comments coming in. Thank you, Danielle. It was beautiful, and we're about at our time also. Yeah, and so just Cindy, appreciating your comments here about meditation and some other good nuggets that are coming in, as always. Yeah, we're not going to be done with this conversation anytime soon. It's ongoing. And so, Danielle, thank you so much for your teaching today and joining us, and gotten already a lot of great feedback about your singing and your Torah. So thank you. And thank you to everybody for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time and channel. And yeah, in the meantime, I hope everybody is able to find some moments of peace and maybe pause once or twice during the day, and choose our responses and our words and our actions mindfully. So thank you for helping us do that today, Danielle.
Thank you.